Thanks so much for joining us today for today's career chat. We're going to talk a little bit about AI and how to use it for your job search. So my name is Hannah Landers. I am the Assistant Director of Career Services and Student Programming here in the Pamplin College of Business. As with all of our career chats, our workshop today is designed to be a quick workshop just in between everything else you have going on today. So please go ahead and stay on mute throughout the presentation, but do feel free to throw any questions you have in the chat and I will do my best to answer at the end. All right. So before we dive into artificial intelligence, I do always like to give a quick overview on our team and what we offer. So the Pamplin Career Services team is housed in Pamplin Hall. We work specifically with Pamplin students. We have a number of different resources that we offer for students. One of the most important is our one-on-one career services appointments. So we offer one-on-one appointments very similar to your academic advising appointments. We're here to answer any questions you might have, from resume review to what can I do with my major, all the way to, you might have a few offers on the table or prepping for interviews. We're more than happy to help with that. So please come talk to us if you have any questions. We also put on a number of different professional development workshops like this one. We host different career events, career fairs, networking events. And then of course, our website has a number of different helpful resources for you throughout your job search. That QR code will take you right to our website where you can find all those resources, information on our events, and also information on how to book an appointment with one of our great advisors here. So please come find us if you have any questions throughout your job search. All right, so digging into what we're going to chat about today, we are going to chat about the basics of AI chat tools and how to write a good prompt. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to practically use those for resume, cover letter, prepping for networking, prepping for your interviews. And then of course, we'll talk about the ethics of using AI in your job search and how our recruiters view the use of AI in your job search. All right, so starting off with what are AI tools, artificial intelligence tools? I just want to get a quick pulse check. If you guys could very quickly put in the chat a 1 if you have not used AI before, a 2 if you have used AI but not necessarily in your job search, and then a 3 if you use it regularly and are an expert in using it for your job search. Okay, perfect. Good mix, but it looks like most of you guys are familiar with AI but haven't necessarily used it in your job search, which is perfect because that's what we're here to talk about today. All right. So chat-based AI tools is what we're going to focus on today. There are so many AI tools and AI startups that are currently in existence. These chat-based AI tools is what we're going to focus on. That's going to be your Chat-GPT, Gemini, Bing, those types of tools. These are basically tools that are designed to have a conversation with you very close to a human-like response. These tools will pull information from the internet to answer prompts and questions that the user inputs. We are going to focus on Chat-GPT today specifically. That is the tool that our team most commonly uses. I like Chat-GPT because it has a free to use version, which is Chat-GPT 3, and it also pulls from a very large data set to give you information. What's different about these chat tools is that it's not going to be a one-to-one. So it's not input one question and get one answer. It's actually a continuous conversation that you're having with these tools. So you can provide additional parameters and additional adjustments so that you can continue to change the input that you're getting back from Chat-GPT. So that's kind of why we like to use it. And we'll talk a little bit about how to adjust the feedback that you're getting from Chat-GPT to implement into your job search. All right, so what makes a good prompt? Chat is only as good as the prompts that it is given. So it's really, really important that you provide as many details and as much information as you can. And then of course you can also reprompt, just like we talked about. It's an ongoing conversation. You can actually refer back to the answer it just gave you and continue to add additional qualifiers. Some of the most common qualifiers I see are number of words. So you can ask chat to say, limit this to 400 words or whatever is relevant. You can also ask it to focus on specific topics or specific skills or experiences. And you can actually ask it to adjust its tone. So you can ask chat to be more professional, more formal or informal, convincing, friendly, impressive, whatever tone you'd like it to focus on. And then I always say to make sure you're using it as a starting point. So anything you put in as a prompt, it's going to give it back in the best manner it can, but it's really important that you take time to edit and reword to be as accurate as possible and to make sure it sounds like you. Anything you put into your job search is going to be representing you. So it's really important that you take the time to edit and make sure you have that human touch when using Chat-GPT as a tool. All right, so using ChatGPT for resume development. One of the most common challenges I see for students when writing their resume is how to focus on their skills, how to really showcase their experiences and their skills rather than writing it kind of like a job description, right? We see a lot of resumes where it's just a description of what they've done versus really focusing in on what you've accomplished. So this is where ChatGPT can come in. It can help you write quality bullet points. So a couple different ways to do that. Starting with, you can input your current bullet points and ask chat different parameters. So you can say, can you include metric-based achievements and rewrite these bullet points? A lot of times we see students who are really struggling to include numbers and metrics. This is one of the most important ways that a recruiter is going to get an understanding of the scope of your responsibility. And a lot of times students have a trouble figuring out the best way to plug in those numbers. So chat can give you some examples of how to do that. Keep in mind the numbers themselves will likely not be accurate because it's going to be a total guess. They're going to be filling in the blanks. So make sure you go back through and make sure all that information is accurate for you. You can also ask chat to rewrite with a more formal phrasing. This can be really helpful when you're struggling with that professional writing. You can also ask it to limit the number of words. So this is another common challenge I see for students. Professional writing is going to be very concise writing. So it's saying what you need to say in the fewest amount of words as possible. So you could say, rewrite this bullet point and limit to 10 words. And that's going to help you keep your idea, but really limit the space you're taking up with. You can also ask chat to rewrite and start with a great action verb. This is a great idea if you have kind of the concept of your bullet point, but you want to really make sure it's in that excellent bullet point format where you have a really good starting action verb and then you describe the results and some metrics. You can also ask chat to write a bullet point focused on a desired skill. So you could say, write a bullet point focusing on social media analytics, and chat will give you some examples there. Again, that's going to be really broad, but it's going to give you a starting point and some inspiration when you're thinking of different ideas. You can also ask chat to adapt your resume to the job description. So this would mean inputting your resume and inputting job descriptions and then asking chat to analyze those two things and provide information for you. So you can input the job description and ask for what keywords or skills should I include here. And then you can reprompt and ask chat to write an example of a bullet point using those keywords it just gave you. So remember, it's an ongoing conversation. So you can ask chat to tell you what you should focus on and then how to focus on those keywords. You can also input your resume and ask chat to how to make your resume better align with the job description. So you can ask it, how close am I to the keywords? What am I missing? What percentage aligns with this job description to get more information there? A couple things we don't want to do. We do not want to ask chat to create your entire resume. Chat can do this, but recruiters can also tell when you can create an entire resume out of ChatGPT. What you want to do is instead go line by line with chat to create the different aspects of your resume. So it's still possible to use chat as a tool to work on your entire resume and all the different bullet points, but it's really important that you don't ask chat to just spit out a resume and then copy paste that, because it's not going to be personal and it's going to be fairly obvious that it was created by AI. We also don't want to input our resume into chat with any personal information. One of the downsides of chat is that still rather unconfirmed what the privacy is. So we don't want to be inputting our email address, our phone number, or our physical address into chat. We want to make sure we remove or alter that information. All right, so looking at some examples, we can ask chat, write a resume bullet point for a certain job title or skill. So the example I have here is, can you write a resume bullet point about providing customer service at a restaurant in a busy environment? Chat gave us several different options for this. So it talked a little bit about the different types of skills: customer service, thriving in a fast-paced environment, resolving customer issues, all those different skills that go with working in a restaurant. Now you can see this is filling in a lot of blanks because we didn't give chat a ton of information in our prompt. So when you look at these, there's a lot of overlap in the different bullet points. So we certainly wouldn't want to copy and paste all of these. That's also too many bullet points for a resume. So you need to comb through and think, what is relevant for me and what would work best on my resume? So I pulled out 3 different that I think would work well on a resume. We have effectively communicated menu options, collaborate seamlessly with kitchen and wait staff, and then adapt quickly to dynamic situations. This is covering a couple of different types of skills that you might see in a customer service role: waitress, hostess, cook, those different types of roles within a restaurant. And then of course, you're going to take these, edit them slightly to make sure they sound like you and are personal with that human touch, and then you could use these on your resume. Another similar example, we could ask for action verbs for a resume bullet point for a specific position. A common position that I see with students is a lifeguard, so I've asked Chat to provide action verbs for resume bullet points for a lifeguard. It spit out several different types of bullet points that you could use for lifeguard responsibilities. So we see a lot here. The one thing I want to point out is that this is, again, filling in blanks. There's going to be some things that probably are not relevant for you. You may not have administered CPR as a lifeguard. You may not have assisted in the organization and implementation of swimming lessons and water safety programs. That might not be something that you did in your position. So it's really important to look through and make sure they're all relevant. Again, I've pulled out 3 that I would probably recommend a student use here. We're talking about implementing and communicating pool rules, conducting regular inspections of equipment, and then participating in ongoing training programs. These are really common aspects of a lifeguard role, and again, touch on different types of skills. All right, so this is another resume prompt example. You could ask Chat, what are the top 10 keywords for this job description? So I input a financial analyst position into Chat and asked for the top 10 key words and skills. This is something that you could use when you're writing your cover letter, when you're preparing for an interview, or when you are just updating your resume. So then from there, we can then reprompt and say, great, write 3 bullet points using these keywords for a finance major. And then you can see there's different examples here where it's going to show you how to use this and how it might fit into your experience as a finance major. All right, some additional prompts for a resume and how you might use Chat-GPT. You can actually input your resume and your job description as we talked about. So you can ask Chat to review your resume and provide 5 ways to rewrite bullet points for this cybersecurity analyst job description to sound more impressive. So you've given Chat a lot of information here. You're giving it your current resume and the job description and asking to help it match. You can also ask Chat to write 3 bullet points that detail your experience with social media using your existing resume, and then tailor it to the job post pasted below. So again, that's a lot of information you're giving it. The more experience that you give it, the more information that you give it, the better the information that you get back is going to be. All right, so cover letter writing, another really important area of your job search. I think one of the biggest challenges I see with cover letter writing for students is going to be, again, expanding on your resume and focusing on your skills. So that's where we can use Chat-GPT to help with that writing. So one way you can use it is to put the job description and your resume in and ask Chat to create a cover letter. Pretty simple. You can ask Chat to actually write one for you. This is going to be really, really important to put in every piece of information that you can to create something usable. And again, this is not something where you should copy and paste. This is something where you should use it as a template while you're getting started. You can also provide the job description and your current cover letter to double check for effectiveness. You can ask Chat how that aligns with the job description, what kinds of things you should focus on. And then, of course, you can add qualifying prompts. So you could say, rewrite with no more than 400 words. You could say, please rewrite to make the tone more formal, or you can ask it to focus on specific keywords that maybe you notice from the job description, and it can help you do that. All right, you can also provide the job description and ask Chat what skills and keywords to include. So again, this is similar to the resume. You can ask Chat what you should be focusing on before you go in to really try to rewrite the cover letter to align. And then finally, I'm going to mention this several times, but it is so, so important to edit. This is a sample of your communication. Cover letter in particular, this is going to be a sample of essentially your elevator pitch, a written form of your elevator pitch. So it's really important that it is accurate to you and it sounds like you. So make sure you're going back through and really combing through it very carefully. I'm actually going to give you a couple examples of prompts. So review my cover letter and provide 3 ways to rewrite this paragraph for an accounting internship job description. You could also ask it to review your resume and provide a formal and friendly cover letter for this job description in no more than 400 words. So again, you're giving a lot of good parameters there to be what you're trying to focus on. This is an example of a cover letter that I asked Chat-GPT to write after giving it a job description for a security analyst. You can see it gave us a really comprehensive, usable cover letter here. It's got a lot of great information, a lot of great relevant skills. It's also in a really excellent format. So ChatGPT has done a really nice job with this. What I want to show you next is all the pieces that may or may not be relevant and would likely need to be edited by the user. So you can see it did not pull in the employer name. It actually pulled in an incorrect job title. It called it security engineer rather than security analyst. It didn't pull in the company name, and it doesn't know my history. It doesn't know where I worked previously, what my job title was, and it's filling in a lot of blanks that have to do with the skills that I may or may not have. So these are all pieces that you would need to comb over and make sure are accurate for you. So even though this is a really great starting point, it's going to be so important to take that extra step and make sure that it's usable, accurate, and sounds like you before you submit to a job posting. All right, moving on to networking prep. There are a lot of different ways that ChatGPT can help you with networking prep. I think ChatGPT is really excellent in helping with writing. So that's kind of what we'll focus on here. It can help you write emails, invitations, and thank you notes. So after you finish an interview, or if you're inviting someone to chat, or if you want to thank someone for a presentation, you can do that with ChatGPT. You can also input your resume and ask ChatGPT to create a draft for your introduction or elevator pitch. So let's say you're going to Business Horizons in the fall and you'd like help creating a usable elevator pitch, ChatGPT can help you. Now, think about what that's going to sound like, right? It's going to sound like AI. It's going to sound a little bit like a robot because it is. So we want to make sure we don't sound like a robot when we're talking to recruiters. So use it as a template, use it as an idea of the types of information you'd want to include, but I really wouldn't encourage you to go in and recite the entire elevator pitch that it gives you. You can also use ChatGPT to form LinkedIn captions, help you write comments, help you write request invitations. I talk with a lot of students who want to use LinkedIn more, but are a little bit nervous about how to navigate that. What kinds of things should I be posting? What kinds of things should I be commenting? ChatGPT can help you write some. It's pulling from things that it's seen on the internet and seen things that are trends and other things that people are posting. So this will help you be in line with what's appropriate on the platform. You can also ask it to generate some questions that you could use during coffee chats or informational interviews. Coffee chats and informational interviews are such a great way to connect with recruiters. We have a lot of recruiters starting to offer more and more of these as we can do it virtually or in person. So it's really important that you take full advantage of that. And ChatGPT can help you generate some questions that'll really get you some good information during your conversation. All right, so going on with informational interviews and coffee chats, I asked Chat to provide 3 informational interview questions for a meeting with a cybersecurity analyst who is an alum of my same school. Chat gave me some really great options here. I definitely would recommend utilizing these examples that it gave. It talked about career development. It suggested asking, how did you get to your role and how do you suggest someone else might do the same? It also suggested asking about industry trends, which can be really topical depending on your major. And then, of course, asking about day-to-day challenges. These are the kinds of questions that you're not necessarily going to know until you talk with someone or until you're in the role yourself. So asking these types of questions are a really, really great way to gather information and start to develop a mentor-mentee relationship with this individual. All right, some additional networking prompt examples. You could ask ChatGPT to write a cold email request, requesting an informational interview using their LinkedIn links. You can actually give ChatGPT someone's LinkedIn profile and ask if ChatGPT will create an email for you, inviting them to a conversation. So this is a really great way to take the guessing game out a little bit. You can also ask ChatGPT to write a follow-up email for someone you might have met at a career event. So let's say you talked with an alum who mentioned that their team is looking for an account manager, and that's a role that you are interested in. You can actually use ChatGPT to write that follow-up email. You could also, of course, ask for informational interview questions, but you could go a step further than the prompt we just looked at and provide ChatGPT with the LinkedIn profile and ask for tailored questions to that individual. All right, last section we want to cover is interview prep. This is a hot topic with students. We talk with a lot of students about preparing for their interviews. So a couple different things that we can do. You can start by putting in the job description for the interview that you have upcoming and your resume. And then you can ask Chat to give you potential questions. You can ask for potential behavioral questions that Those are the more situational questions you might see in an entry-level interview. But you can also ask Chat for case interview questions. These are something a little bit more tailored to the industry. And if Chat has both your resume and the job description, it's going to be able to provide you with potential case interview questions if you know that you have a case interview coming up. And again, case interviews are not going to be something where you can prepare for every question you might be asked. It's going to be more about how you work through case interview questions. So this is a great way to start thinking through how you might answer some case interview questions. You can also go a step further and ask Chat how to craft a good answer to the questions that it gives you. So it's going to give you the questions, and then if you are stuck or you want to check your answers, you can ask Chat to provide what it thinks would be good answers to these questions. You can also input a question and answer and ask Chat to improve or highlight certain skills or add metrics or improve the tone, whatever that might be that you're trying to work on. Chat can help you craft your answer to be a little bit more tailored. You can also ask, what experiences and skills should I focus on based on my resume and my job description? What are going to be good interview answers that I can focus on? You can also identify questions to ask at the end of the interview. This is a really common question that I get from students. How can I ask a question that's going to sound impressive? How can I ask a question that's going to tell me more about what it's like to work there? There are so many different ways to ask good questions, and Chat-GPT has a really great endless list of questions that you can ask. So you can think about, how do I communicate my interest in the company's philanthropy or in their DEI programs? You can ask Chat those types of questions. You can also ask Chat, how do I ask questions to uncover details on culture? Culture means different things to different people, and it's really important to kind of figure out what that is in the interview process so that you kind of have a good understanding before making a decision on that company. So Chat has some really great suggestions on the types of questions you can ask to get that information. All right, so looking at some prompt examples, you can provide examples of good questions to ask at the end of an interview for a specific job. So I asked, provide examples of good questions to ask at the end of an interview for a business analyst. You can see it gave me a lot of really great options here. It suggested asking about the role and expectation. It suggested asking about who you might be working with and how your team is set up. It suggested asking about specific software or platforms that you might need to use. This is a really great question, especially for our more technical majors. You could also ask about the project lifecycle and timeline and how that might differ 6 months into the role versus a year and so on. You could also ask about professional development. What does this look like? Room for growth? Those are all really great questions that show ambition. And then, of course, it has given us an example here about how to talk about company culture. What are some things that you can learn about the culture in this step in the interview process? And then performance metrics is a really great question to ask to understand how is success measured in the role. All right, a couple of other prompt examples for you. You can ask, I'm preparing for an internship interview. Please provide possible interview questions I might be asked. Please include behavioral and general interview questions. And then you'll provide the job description. You can also then reprompt and say what skills, attributes, or previous experiences are useful to talk about in an interview for a human resources intern. It's going to give you examples of what types of things are common to focus on. It's not going to necessarily know your background unless you give it your resume, and even then it's only going to know high level. So you're going to have to use this as a starting point to craft your answers for an interview. You can reprompt again then and say, how would you answer this question based on my experience? You can give it your resume. You can ask, what might you focus on based on my experience and the question that you're asking, and it'll know the industry and kind of be able to pull that together. With interviews, you're going to find that the answers it gives you are very general. You probably saw that on the last slide. So you're really going to have to dig in and make sure it's relevant to you. But again, it's giving you the scaffolding for a really good interview answer. And then, of course, you can provide examples of good questions to ask at the end of an interview for a leasing consultant, for example, and it'll provide some examples on what you might want to focus on for that industry specifically. All right, moving into the end here, we want to talk a little bit about limitations. That's always something important to keep in mind with new technology. Chat-GPT 3, which is the free to use version, has information up to January 2022. So it actually only pulls in information up to that date. So it's not going to be able to tell you current companies and current company news. So you couldn't ask it, what are all the management companies I should apply to in DC? You couldn't ask it, what's the company culture at KPMG? It's not going to be able to answer that kind of up-to-date information, but it is going to be able to give you the types of companies or, major industries in a certain area. It can tell you that kind of thing. Something we've talked about a few times is the fact that chat will fill in the blanks when not given enough information in the prompt. So what we call this is a hallucination, where it essentially makes up the rest of the information to provide you with a full answer. So that's kind of what we saw on that cover letter example. It filled in a lot of information that was not necessarily true for me, but it could be true in general. So that's why it's important to make sure you're looking through and providing that human touch. What chat is going to give you should be a starting point. It's not going to be something that you can copy and paste. It's going to need an additional round of editing to make sure that it's something usable. The last thing I want to mention here is that because it's new technology, there's new versions coming out. It's continuing to evolve. It's continuing to get updates. It's important to experiment here. I mean, these types of prompts that'll work well and what you're seeing give you the information you're looking for could change. So continue to experiment. I mean, try new prompts, try out what you're looking for. Chat-GPT will tell you if it can't provide you the answer. So I think this is a really important way to just continue to get the information you're looking for. All right, so last slide here, I do want to touch on the ethics of using artificial intelligence in your job search. What we find is that business industries and recruiters that typically come to Pamplin are generally receptive to the use of artificial intelligence for your job search. That's not going to be true for everyone, but in general, this industry is pretty open to it. Recruiters can, however, tell when a full document is created by AI. We talked about that with cover letter and resume. It's really, really important that you go back through. We also talked about the fact that it can fill in bullet points and fill in blanks, so always check for accuracy. If you simply use what ChatGPT has given you, or you skip over a section, it's likely that it's going to fill out information that may or may not be relevant to you, and then you've accidentally lied on your resume or on your cover letter, and that is never a good idea. Recruiters do have ways of finding out. They'd probably know pretty quickly in an interview if you put something on there that was false. So make sure you're looking over very carefully when you're using ChatGPT for your job search. AI should be used as a tool to support critical thinking. Again, I've said this a few times, but this is going to be inspiration. We want to really think about it as a tool to help get you started, to help provide ideas and options, not necessarily something that you can completely take and plug into your job search. When we talk about resume, creating a resume versus going through line by line with chat to create what you're looking for, that's the main difference of how we want to be using AI in our job search. All right, so that kind of takes us to the end of our presentation today. I have our information here, Pamplin Career Resources. Again, I just wanted to give you guys that QR code and website. Please come find us if you have any questions at all. If you want to talk about anything to do with your job search, AI or other, we're more than happy to chat. I've also put my direct contact information here, my email and my LinkedIn. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about AI, how to use that, anything I've talked about during this presentation today, or other career topics. I'm more than happy to chat. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining. I will stick around for any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat and I'm more than happy to answer.